if that happens, we've seen the kind of turmoil there's been in recent weeks. We can't look at the stock market as an indicator of what's happening in the economy. The decisions made by 22-year-old brokers on a daily basis and traders really aren't good judges of what's going on in the global economy. And what we're seeing underlying this is some real issues. I haven't got time to go into them, but the US economy has some very fundamental problems that it can't escape. 50% of all the senior managers in the US Fortune 500 retire in the next 5 years. The average US household now spends 106% of its income. The US savings rate is at a lower level than the Great Depression. And the average US household has 11 credit cards. Pretty much all of that debt in the US is funded by China, Korea, and Japan. So it tends not to play down too well when the US press then criticize China for investing and bailing out the US investment banks. Obviously Beijing's not too keen on that one. So what we're saying to people is, no one knows how the global economy is going to play out, but what we think you should do is to prepare for a range of scenarios. Sorry, the jokes have all finished now. This is the serious bit. And I've lost the money, so, there's no incentive to tell jokes anymore. The next one I want to talk about is one particular region that I would say you need to have on your radar, which is the Middle East. And again, our focus on the Middle East tends to be issues around terrorism, around oil, around conflict. We've been doing a lot of research in the region, and one of the things we've discovered is there's $3.6 trillion of investment going in to building just the tourism, leisure, and travel infrastructure, and the supporting infrastructure for that. The region is really priding itself now on building world-class, whatever it's done. You've seen the Burj in Dubai. There's a hotel called Hydropolis being built 30 meters under the sea. You've seen the Palm Islands and the map of the world. Well, the people building that are one of our clients, a company called Nikhil. And they pride themselves on building these reclaimed land developments. And last week they announced the latest one, which is called the Universe. Quite humble, really. And when you look down on this one, you'll see the sun, the moon, the stars, and all sorts of planets. And we talked about, Bob talked about building 3 million houses in the UK. Dubai is a city, you mustn't forget, it's a city within the United Arab Emirates with a national population of 150,000. It has a total population of 1.5 million. And they're building 3 million houses in just their developments alone. One of them that we're working on, called the Waterfront, will be a city of 1.5 million people. Their belief is that whatever the past has been doesn't dictate their potential. They're giving themselves permission to believe that they can build world-class industries, world-class knowledge industries, world-class service companies there, and people will come to build those companies and come to buy the properties. And across the region, you're seeing this, that people in the region are saying, and it's not just about oil money, people saying, we don't have to be dictated to by what's happened in the past. We're not going to be all dependent in the future. We're going to create a whole vibrant set of economies. And what you do see is a number of innovators from all around the world going to those markets, going to Abu Dhabi, going to Dubai, going to Qatar, and finding that their ideas are being readily accepted out there, that their services are being bought, that their products are being bought. Whereas in their domestic markets, they're struggling to even get an appointment with people to be knocked back. And one of the things, again, we would say to you is it's worth starting to understand these markets and really start to understand the opportunity, because that's where there is money, that's where there is growth, that's where there's opportunity. I'd also look at Africa. Again, we tend to write off Africa, but particularly if you look at the economies in Africa that have had problems in recent years, what are called the post-conflict economies, like Angola and Uganda. Angola is now growing at 16%. Nigeria is growing quite rapidly, and the opportunities there are around the building of the infrastructure, around education and the creation of consumer markets. So if you're in any of those spaces again, they're starting to get interesting. Again, a fool and his money are easily parted. Just diving in and starting to spend money or giving money to partners that you never see again is a bad thing anywhere. But if you look at those markets and you go in cautiously, then there are real opportunities. One of the challenges that comes out of all this growth is that we know we're putting real pressure on the planet. We're putting real pressure on the ecosystems. We've got climate change. We know that if the world was to carry on consuming at current rates, we would need 2 planets to service our demand. If the world wanted to consume at the same rate as Europe, the developing world wanted to consume at the same rate as Europe, we'd need 3 planets. If they wanted to go for the silver medal in the consumption Olympics, we'd need 5 planets to consume as much as the US. And if they wanted to go for gold medal and consume at the same rate as California, we'd need 8 planets. You either see this as, oh my God, this is the end, also this is a really interesting opportunity to start looking at creating green technologies, very different products and services, greening our businesses to create opportunities. Abu Dhabi in the Middle East has seen this as an opportunity. They're creating a city called Masdar, which will open next year. It will be the world's first energy neutral, waste neutral, climate neutral, i.e. no greenhouse gas emissions city in the world. And they're going hell for leather to build it by the end of next year. There'll be 50,000 people there. And the idea is that all the technologies, all the processes that go into building that will then create industries that they can take out to the rest of the world. And therefore they can be market leaders in those environmental services and technologies. The final theme I want to talk about just for a couple of minutes is around innovation. It's been touched on in both speeches so far. I think innovation is the real opportunity for us here and starting to change the way we look at innovation. Most of us say we're great innovators, say we're open to ideas, but if you look at the body language of most of our organisations, we tend to reject almost everything that comes to us from outside unless we've asked for it. Procter & Gamble have set the mould on this. They set the challenge of getting 50% of all new product ideas from outside the organisation and have gone out and actively courted people around the world for ideas. They now get 35% of all their ideas from customers, competitors, all sorts of people. One of their customers gave them the idea of creating toothpaste for dogs. We laugh at the idea, but it's now worth $300 million a year to them. And they got the idea for free. And one of the questions I'd ask you is, are you a magnet? In your markets, does your body language, does your posture encourage people to bring you ideas? A lot of companies here are in technology sectors or product manufacturing sectors, and quite often we see companies that are a one-product company. They had a great idea, but they really struggle to get the next one. Well, rather than beating yourselves up trying to have the next idea, the other option is to make yourself really open so people want to partner you and want to bring ideas to you because you're excellent at turning them into commercial ideas. So one of the challenges we see for this region is for the companies to really raise their profile globally and present themselves as a magnet for ideas, for partners and for money. I'm very conscious that the alcohol demand now is very high in the room and the need for me to shut up is even greater. So I hope I've given you some food for thought. I hope I've given you a few bad jokes to take away and just one or two ideas that maybe you can take back into your organisations. The author Graham Greene says, there comes a time in everyone's life when you have to open the door and let the future in. I hope I've just given you a couple of thoughts about what you might find on the other side. Thank you.